It's sad to say, but we're never getting Days Gone 2. What a shame, as Days Gone is my favorite new IP from Sony and just an overall great game. It had its fair share of issues, but what game doesn't have those things? I thought the remaster would revitalize the series, but I barely see anyone covering the remastered. Days Gone Remaster has gotten crapped on since it was announced, and I really do not know why. As far as remasters go, it's a pretty standard release. You get better graphics and frame rates, a brand new game mode with tons of replayability. I know gamers have been complaining about Sony remastering games that they feel don't need one, but I personally disagree when it comes to Days Gone. And honestly, I kind of just disagree in general because if you don't want the remaster, then just don't buy it. Not only did Days Gone get a bad rep for its issues at launch, it had its fair share of bugs and glitches, but it had unfair criticism by journalists at the time because they wanted to spew their social political views on Days Gone and speak about things that had nothing to do with the game itself, and that really did hurt the game when it was being reviewed at the time. If Days Gone Remaster is successful, it could be a sign to Sony that fans want a sequel, but now we have a bunch of content creators that learned that hate watching and just talking about negative things brings the big bucks. So people are just pushing this negative opinion about Days Gone now because that's just the thing to do. It's all about business. It's not about giving an honest opinion about a game anymore. If everyone wants to criticize Days Gone for simply existing with a remaster, well, you're going to have plenty of YouTubers that feed into that, regardless if they played it or not. Like I said, if you don't feel that the remastered is worth the money, then just don't buy it. But I'm going to explain to you why I think it is worth it. And if you're one of those people that feel like, well, you just think that Days Gone being remastered took resources away from some other Sony project, let me explain something to you. That's not necessarily how it works in the game industry. Whatever was allocated for this remaster doesn't mean that money was going to go for anything else. So don't just assume that it could have went to anything else because that doesn't mean anything. These things have to be greenlit, they have to be approved. And just because you think some imaginary game that you don't even know exists or could exist could have got greenlit with this minuscule amount of money, I'm sure that went into this remaster, you're just making things up in your head. That I can assure you that the amount of money they spent on this remaster compared to whatever imaginary game you want Sony to push out, unless it's some indie quality game, they didn't spend that much money on this. And that doesn't mean it's not worth the value, because I'm explaining that it is, but it just means that whatever money they spent on this remaster didn't take away from anything of significance when it comes to a new IP or even working on some extra content for an existing IP, which you probably would have complained about anyway because you guys don't like remastered content. But whatever. For $10, just $10, if you already own the game, you're getting better graphics that people swear up and down is not noticeable. Now let me be clear. This isn't a graphical overhaul like Oblivion Remaster, but rather something similar to maybe GTA 5 Enhanced. If the PS4 version running on PS5 is medium to low settings, then the remastered is more like high to ultra settings. You can definitely tell that everything looks better and sharper in the remaster and that character models overall look more detailed. It's not a night and day difference, but who the heck was expecting that anyway? The graphics being the sole focus by critics is also kind of weird when it comes to this game because they're acting as if this remaster doesn't enhance the gameplay as well. The haptic feedback is a complete game changer for me in Days Gone Remaster, and the only thing that sucks is that I can only describe it to you because, well, you would need to feel it for yourself to know how great it is. The recoil from guns can be felt in your hands now, and seeing as there's so many different types of guns, each gun will have a different feel. The shotgun just feels amazing, and any fully automatic gun in this game feels amazing as well. One of the biggest features of Days Gone was its bike, and now with haptic feedback, you can really feel what they attempted to do with the PS4 version. Because in the PS4 version, there was like distinct vibration if you drove over rickety bridges and stuff like that, but now you can really feel the bumps in the road. You can really feel when you change out your bike parts, how you could tell that the bike performs better when you're driving it just in general, haptics on or not. But when you turn them on or keep them on, These haptic controls, you can really feel the smoothness of the bike. Your upgrade matters more now because not only do you get the visual feedback of going faster and your bike can take more damage, but you can feel that the bike feels like a more pristine bike than the junk bike that you basically begin the game with. It's just a game changer for me. And like I said, when it comes to the vibration, driving over different terrain, you can feel the difference between driving on grass versus dirt. It's a whole different experience that, funny enough, when I was playing the PS4 version on PS5, the whole time I was like, I know that if they do right by the haptic feedback, it's going to make the PS4 version to me feel obsolete because the PS4 version looks great. That's the whole defense. Everybody says it already looks good. Why do I need a remaster? The haptics, if you care about gameplay, the haptic feedback overall is just amazing. And it doesn't just stop with the bike and the guns either. I think because this game is exclusive to the PS5 and PC, they increase the amount of times the dynamic weather effects will trigger because they were in the original game, but they didn't happen that often. And now I can feel the pitter patter of the rain in the palm of my hands. I can feel like I jumped a few times when lightning struck and thunder shook my controller. Like it's that intense. And it just changes. It takes the game to a whole nother level. It gives the game like, it sounds weird to say, it gives it texture. It's like I feel like I'm in the world rather than just controlling a character inside of a virtual world. It feels like I'm there. And the DualSense, this is why the DualSense is one of my favorite new controllers. It's probably the best controller I've ever experienced ever. And games like this really take advantage of it. And this is something that I personally think if you already like Days Gone, this is just a no-brainer upgrade for you. If you haven't gotten Days Gone ever, you never played it, well, just stay tuned. I'm going to tell you some more things why you should be enticed to get the game as well. We haven't even gotten into the new DLC, Horde Assault. You get dropped into a map and have to survive waves of freakers coming at you while also completing dynamic world events to earn points to get better gear so you can survive even longer. You can liken Horde Assault to Call of Duty Zombies, but zombies before they added all these stupid features and Easter eggs that made it too complicated for people like me. Horde Assault gives you 4 pretty big maps, and you get a nice progression system where as you get higher scores, you can unlock new characters and different abilities so that it can survive longer in the world. It's an adrenaline rush to be able to fight these massive hordes, and you can even hop on your bike to make a speedy getaway if you need to. Fighting hordes in Days Gone is the ultimate power fantasy. One man or woman against all odds, and all you have is your gun with not nearly enough ammo and your wits. Learning the best routes to herd the freakers into a trap or plotting your escape out of a sticky situation is what this game mode lives and dies on, and it's fun for anyone that's into that type of thing. I can't imagine anyone saying that this is boring unless you are allergic to fun. It's an easy to pick up and play game mode, and it also scratches that just one more run feeling in your brain, and it's a great showcase of what the PS5 could do in the future. Because see, this game mode adds more freakers on the screen than even the main story mode. So imagine if they can add all these freakers in this game mode, what they could do with a possible sequel. So in a lot of ways, I look at this as a showcase of what could be if Days Gone even gets a sequel, which I hope it does, but you know, we'll see. For me personally, because I'm not a big graphics person, even though I am very satisfied with the new graphics, this game mode alone was worth the $10 upgrade for me. But for those people that don't own Days Gone and have to pay the full $50, even though you technically don't have to, you could probably find the game used for cheap, use the disc version and still get it for under $50. But even if you're willing to pay the full $50, I'm telling you that this game is worth every penny. As far as Sony first party titles go, Days Gone has one of the best stories I've ever experienced in any Sony game, but it does require you to be emotionally in tune to appreciate it. If you only see things from the surface level, you might miss the themes of guilt, grief, mourning, and more importantly, hope. The characters in Days Gone are going through mental decay as this world is going to crap. And these characters will go through a slew of emotions that I think sometimes when people get hit with too many emotions from fictional characters, they don't know what to do with them. So they just push them into a stereotype and don't allow them to breathe. Don't allow them to be real live characters. In that sense, the story reminds me of how people treated and misunderstood the deeper messaging in Forspoken. Some people couldn't get past that Faye and Forspoken was black, or that a 21-year-old that had been an orphan her whole life might be a little standoffish to people. Just like for whatever reason, some people had a problem with Deacon being white and a biker. Like they just stereotyped him as like this gruff white biker dude that loves his wife, which is nothing wrong with loving your wife. They just criticized Deacon's character. And at the time you could tell the reviewers, I'm putting up some of the images on the screen of the things they said. You can probably guess where they leaned when it came to politics. And my channel isn't about politics. I'm not getting into that or your personal views. This is a channel about gaming. But if the game I'm covering has people out here, you know, bringing their social political issues to the game, I have to bring it up so you guys can know the full context that this was a main reason why a lot of people in the mainstream review scene was saying the story was crap. It really wasn't that the story was bad. It was that they hated Deacon to begin with. No different than people hated Faye to begin with. So once you hate a character just based upon a stereotype or based upon your assumptions of who they are, they, for whatever reason, hate white biker dudes at the time. So because Deacon was a white biker dude, every other part of his character, his caring nature, Deacon's ability to know right from wrong, and even though he's in a messed up world where a lot of people do wrong to survive, he still held on to his humanity, his ability to hope. All that stuff just went out the window because people had an issue with Deacon loving his wife. Don't ask me. It was very confusing at the time, and it's still confusing to this day. Deacon is far from a one-dimensional character that everyone tried to paint him as, but you won't be able to see that if your mind is already made up on who he is as a character based upon his appearance. When I tell you that the writing in this game is so good, these writers did such a great job of making all the characters feel human and not just polygons on the screen.
Okay, look, if you're gonna fucking kill me, do it, okay? I did my job. Did the woman your wife? I put her on oxygen, I gave her an IV. I kept her alive. I got in a lot of trouble for that. She was septic, she wasn't gonna make it, but I got her to the mass unit. I saved her goddamn life.
It's really sad that a lot of people missed out on Days Gone's story because they might have believed what the reviewers were saying. If you like a well-written story with amazing character growth, well, you're going to get about 36 hours of that. Now, the game also has your typical open world activities like taking out enemy camps, hunting for resources, and of course, fighting the freakers. Unlike other studios like Ubisoft, Ben Studios doesn't overwhelm you with tons of side missions to pad out the game. Instead, the side activities are made with quality over quantity. And due to the survival mechanics of this game, there's a lot of scavenging you'll have to do anyway. You'll end up going into these locations where you'll have to go into an enemy camp to get the resources out of there, the bullets, the guns, whatever you need. You're going to go into freaker zones because they have special equipment that's locked behind their zones that you need to get. The side missions feed into the gameplay. And really, it's not that much of it anyway. It's not a whole lot of side content. The bulk of the content is the main story. I didn't even mention everything else that comes with this package. New Game Plus, multiple difficulty settings, speed run mode, permadeath mode, and the challenge mode that is separate from the Horde Assault mode with its own horde maps, bike missions, and enemy camp challenges. The challenge mode has its own reward system and everything. For $50, the value proposition is insane. As someone that got the platinum trophy on PS4, and I'm working on getting it again on PS5, I can assure you that you are not wasting your money getting Days Gone. Days Gone is going to be one of those games that years from now, a popular content creator will play it and question why people hated on it during the time and why didn't it get a sequel, and you know the whole cycle that games like this go through. Good games that people, for whatever reason, just didn't want to mess with. Fans of the original game on the PS4 were already pushing for a sequel, and I hope the remaster does well enough so that we can finally see what happens next in the world of Days Gone. Rarely have I ever heard anyone say that Days Gone is bad, and I think that's the important thing you guys need to know. People don't say that this game is bad. Some people say that it's an average game, but an average game is still a good game. It's not really a bad game. Average don't mean bad. Average just means it's okay. So at the worst I've ever heard anyone say is that Days Gone is just okay. And for $10, I think you can risk okay. For $50, I can understand you being cautious, but get the game on sale if you can. Anyway, If you guys enjoyed the video, let me know in the comments. Let me know if you're going to get Days Gone, if this video inspired you to at least give it a shot one of these days, whether it be now or later. Peace out, keep gaming, God bless, and I'll see you guys in the next video.